I always thought I had it good. A quiet, steady kind of love. The kind that makes you feel like maybe, just maybe, you got lucky. Sure, my mom never trusted Matt. From the day I brought him home, she had that look, like she could smell something rotting under his smile. "There's something about him," she'd say, again and again, like a scratched record. I used to roll my eyes and wave her off, but I won't lie. There were times I wondered, little things, a weird glance. The way he always turned his phone just slightly away from me. Nothing solid, just whispers in my gut. Then out of nowhere, my phone lit up. Just an ordinary Thursday. I was making lunch, scrolling absently when her name popped up. "Mom," I clicked it, expecting some recipe or sale ad she thought I'd like, but it was just one sentence and a photo. A single, brutal sentence. "I knew he was a scumbag." That's what she wrote. And beneath it, the photo. Matt. Sitting across from some woman I didn't recognize. They were in a cafe, our cafe, the one just a few blocks from home. He was laughing, leaning in close, no wedding ring. I zoomed in. My stomach twisted. There was something too familiar in the way he looked at her. I felt like I was watching a private moment, one I was never meant to see. And the worst part? I wasn't even shocked. Hurt? Yes. Shaken? Completely. But shocked? No. Some part of me, it always knew this day might come. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stared. The noise of the house faded, like someone turned down the volume on my life. The smell of the simmering sauce, the humming fridge, the dog snoring near the window, none of it registered. I stood there, phone in hand, pulse pounding in my ears. I waited for the pain to explode, for the tears, for the meltdown. But it never came. Not the way I expected. Instead, something else surfaced. Something cold. Focused. I didn't want to scream or beg or confront him. Not yet. I wanted clarity. I wanted control. If this was going to fall apart, I'd decide how. Not him. Not some stranger in a cafe. I sat down, phone still in my hand, and started scrolling through my camera roll, old photos of us, vacations, anniversaries, little moments I thought were real. But now they felt like props in a play I didn't audition for. I wasn't going to let this end with me curled up in a heap. I had too much fire for that. And maybe, just maybe, my mother was right all along. But she didn't need to say, "I told you so." Not yet, because I was already thinking 10 steps ahead. If he thought he could juggle 2 lives without consequence, he clearly didn't know who he married. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. The pieces were shifting now, and the first thing I needed to figure out was her name. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling while Matt snored beside me like nothing had changed. Like my entire world hadn't cracked open 12 hours earlier. The next morning, I made his coffee, kissed his cheek, and watched him leave like I always did. Only this time, I tracked the way he walked, the way he looked at his phone, the time he left the driveway. My mind was a machine now, quietly turning over every detail. And then I sat down at my laptop and started digging. First stop, reverse image search. The photo Mom sent had a reflection, barely visible, in the coffee shop window. The name of the place, the timestamp. Small clues, but enough. I scoured social media, narrowed down the cafes nearby, then clicked through every tag, every check-in, every smiling face with a latte. And then I found her. Brenda. That was her name. Young, cute, just polished enough to catch someone like Matt's eye. Her profile was public. I didn't know if that made her careless or just unlucky. Either way, I had her. I stared at her pictures for a long time. She looked normal. Not like some sultry homewrecker out of a soap opera. Just a woman who probably believed in the version of Matt that used to charm me. I could have messaged her right then. Could have sent the wedding photos, screenshots, receipts. But no, that would have been too easy. Too satisfying for the wrong reasons. I wanted something different. I wanted to know how far the lie went. And so I created someone new. a burner account, a different name, different town. Just a girl new to the area looking for a friend. I didn't even have to try that hard. Brenda took the bait fast. Within a few hours, we were chatting. At first, it was small talk, books, favorite cafes, dating apps. Then, just 2 days in, she dropped his name. Matt. She didn't even hesitate. "He's so sweet," she wrote, like she was talking about a dream. "We meet every Thursday for coffee. He says he just needs time. He's going to leave his wife soon." My hands were ice when I read that. He's going to leave his wife soon. I think I actually laughed, one of those bitter, hollow laughs that taste like metal in your mouth. It was surreal, watching her gush about the man who shared my bed, my home, my life. And the way she believed him, it almost hurt more than the betrayal itself, because I remembered being that woman once, so sure, so trusting. I knew what it felt like to be promised everything, only to be handed dust, but I kept my mask on. I played the role of the supportive new friend. I asked questions. I gave her space to talk. The more she opened up, the more I realized just how deep he'd gone. He had her completely, lies layered on lies, wrapped in charm. And as I listened, I started to sketch the outline of something bigger. This wouldn't be about revenge for the sake of rage. This would be about precision, timing, and a Thursday. The more I saw of Brenda, the more I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not even pity. Just clarity. She wasn't my enemy. She was a symptom. The real disease was Matt, his lies, his cowardice. But now, thanks to Brenda's trust, I had a front row seat to every one of his fabricated promises. We kept chatting over the next couple weeks. She told me about the way he touched her hand across the table, how he said Thursdays were his quiet days at work. I played dumb, nodded along in our messages, all while thinking, quiet days, my ass. Then one afternoon, her message lit up my phone. "You have to meet him. He's amazing. We could all get coffee Thursday?" I stared at those words for a long time. There it was, the moment, the invitation, the setup I didn't even have to create. She was offering it to me on a silver platter. My heart thudded in my chest, slow and deliberate. It was time. And there was only one person I needed by my side for this. The one who'd seen the truth before I did. The one who always knew. Calling my mom wasn't easy. Not because I didn't want her there, but because it meant admitting she was right. About everything. I expected her to gloat, maybe even throw an "I told you so" in my face. But when I told her what I was planning, she just went quiet. Not cold, just still. Like she understood the weight of it. Then, finally, she said, "Tell me when and where." That was it. No lectures, no questions. Just a mother, ready to stand beside her daughter in the fire. We planned it like a mission. The cafe Brenda mentioned was cozy, tucked between a florist and a bookstore, somewhere I used to love, ironically. We picked our outfits with care, nothing flashy, just enough to look effortless. We chose a table near the back with the perfect line of sight to the front door. She'd see him, he'd see us, and Brenda, well, she'd see the truth whether she wanted to or not. That morning, I did my makeup like armor. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to tremble. I was going to show up like a storm disguised in silk. Brenda texted me an hour before, giddy. "He's so excited to meet you. You're going to love him." God, that hit different. I stared at my screen, imagining the woman on the other side of that message, naive, happy, about to be crushed. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but I also wasn't sorry. She deserved the truth. And he deserved every ounce of what was coming. My mother sat beside me in the car, calm as ever, her hands folded neatly in her lap like she was headed to church. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, and I meant it. We walked in 5 minutes early. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and espresso. The barista glanced up, offered a polite smile. I scanned the room. Brenda wasn't there yet, but her favorite corner table was reserved. I could feel the thrum in my chest, steady but rising. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was revelation. And I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Every Thursday he gave her was borrowed time, and now we were about to collect. The bell above the cafe door jingled like it always did, soft and innocent. Brenda was the first to walk in, light on her feet, her hair in loose curls, holding her phone like it was an extension of her heart. She didn't see us, yet. She walked straight to her table, checked her reflection in the window, then sat with a bounce like she was about to meet her soulmate. I watched her from behind my sunglasses, my mother sipping her tea beside me. Brenda glanced at her phone again, thumbs moving fast. I could almost hear her. "He's almost here!" I could barely breathe, but I didn't flinch. My mother leaned slightly toward me and whispered, "You sure?" I nodded. One sharp, simple nod. The cafe buzzed around us, people chatting, cups clinking, the hum of a grinder in the back. Then, he walked in. Matt. Dressed like he always did for casual meetings, jeans, button-down shirt, smug little half-smile. He scanned the room, expecting her, only her, and that's when he saw it. First Brenda, sitting there all expectant, then us, me, my mother, his face. God, I'll never forget that face. It was like someone pulled the plug on him. The color drained from his face fast. His eyes widened just a fraction, enough for me to catch it. Shock, panic, recognition, all colliding in real time. He froze in the doorway. For a second, I thought he might actually turn and bolt, but instead he stumbled forward, like he wasn't fully in control of his legs. Brenda turned, grinning, and waved. "There you are," she chirped, still clueless, still hoping for a fairy tale. My chest tightened, but not from heartbreak, from restraint. I stood up slowly. My chair scraped against the tile, a sound too loud for such a soft place. I walked toward him, past stunned faces, quiet murmurs already starting. When I reached him, I smiled. A practiced, polite smile. "Matt," I said, calm as a surgeon. "You remember my mom, don't you?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I turned to Brenda, who looked like someone just slapped her soul. "And of course," I added, "you must know Brenda. Seems Thursdays are popular for betrayal." My voice didn't shake. Not once. Time seemed to collapse in that moment. Brenda looked from me to Matt, then back again, her mouth slightly open, eyes darting, scrambling to understand. "Wait," she whispered. "You're his—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Her expression did all the talking. And Matt? He looked like he was shrinking, like the walls were closing in. His hands twitched at his sides, his voice still stuck somewhere in his throat. I saw it, the unraveling. The lies choking him from the inside out, right there in front of everyone. The cafe had gone quiet. Even the music playing overhead seemed distant now, like background noise in a bad dream. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Every word I spoke landed with weight. His world was cracking, and he knew it. I turned to my mom, who just sipped her tea like she was watching a show she'd already seen coming. Brenda stood up slowly, her face pale, her breathing shallow. She looked at Matt like she didn't even know him. Maybe she didn't. But I did. And he was exactly who my mother said he was. He tried to speak. God, he really tried. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, little gasps of panic escaping with no real words. This isn't... But no full sentence ever came. I watched him flail for something. Dignity, a defense, maybe even sympathy, but there was none left in the room. Brenda backed away from him like he was contagious. Her eyes shimmered with disbelief, the kind that only hits when your heart's still catching up to reality. "You told me you were separated," she hissed, her voice sharp and tight. "You said..." But then she just stopped. She didn't need to say more. She grabbed her bag, hands shaking, and bolted. Straight out the door. No looking back. I watched her leave, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt release. Like something heavy had just slid off my chest. I turned back to Matt. He still hadn't moved, still hadn't spoken. He just stared at me like he didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe he didn't, because the woman who once believed every lie he told, she was gone. I reached into my pocket and pulled off my wedding ring. I held the ring in my palm for a moment, letting its weight settle before I placed it gently on the table between us. No drama, no speech, just finality. His eyes dropped to it like it burned. I watched his throat tighten, his hands twitch again. Still nothing. No apology, no fight, just silence. The same silence that had lived between us for months, disguised as routine. My mother leaned forward then, her voice low but firm, like a verdict. I told her you were trash. Now the whole cafe knows it too. And with that, she stood. I stood with her. There was no hesitation in my body, no ache in my limbs, just resolve, the kind that comes from seeing everything clearly, maybe for the first time. People were staring now, pretending not to, but they were. Matt sat frozen, a statue in a storm of his own making. I gave him one last look, no hatred, no heartbreak, just goodbye. And then I turned my back to him. My mother was already holding the door open for me, sunlight pouring in like a spotlight on our exit. I stepped through it without a second thought. The moment we walked out, I felt it. That rush. Not revenge. Something quieter. Deeper. Freedom. I didn't say a word as we crossed the street. My mother didn't either, but I could feel her pride in the way she walked beside me, strong and steady. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't wondering what Matt was thinking. I didn't care what story he'd spin or how he'd explain it. That chapter was over. I wasn't his wife anymore. I was just me. And that was enough. We got into the car, and I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding since the moment the photo hit my phone. I looked over at my mom, my fiercest ally, my first line of truth, and she just smiled. "You did good," she said. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. My hand was bare where the ring used to be, but I didn't feel empty. I felt clean. I felt whole. The drive home was quiet, but not heavy. Just peaceful, like the end of a storm. Weeks passed. Papers were signed. The divorce moved fast, faster than I expected. Maybe because I didn't fight it. I didn't cling. I didn't mourn the fantasy. What was there to grieve, really? A man who lied with ease, who hid in routine and thought I'd never see past the smile? No. I grieved for the woman I was before. The one who doubted her instincts. The one who needed proof before trusting her gut. But she's gone now, and what's left is someone I actually like. Mom and I started spending more time together. Not the strained kind of time we used to have, where every conversation was layered with warning and tension. This time, it was easy, real. We'd go for walks, cook dinner together, laugh at old memories. She never said, "I told you so," not once. She didn't need to. Her presence said everything. I was always on your side. I always will be. Funny how a broken heart brought us closer than we'd been in years. Like we both understood now, love doesn't mean silence. One evening, while folding laundry, I got a message. Brenda. I hadn't heard from her since that day in the cafe. Just seeing her name gave me a weird twist in my stomach. I opened it slowly, expecting bitterness, or worse, blame. But it wasn't that. It was simple. Honest. "I'm sorry," she wrote. "I didn't know. I didn't want to hurt anyone." And I believed her. Maybe because I saw her face when it all came crashing down. Maybe because I recognized that kind of betrayal, like staring into the eyes of someone you thought you knew, and finding a stranger. I replied, just a few lines. No anger, no hard feelings, just closure. We weren't going to be friends, we weren't going to meet for coffee, but there was mutual understanding now. Two women who'd been lied to by the same man, each in different ways. There's power in that. Quiet power. I didn't need a big confrontation, or revenge that dragged on forever. What I needed was what I already had: peace, boundaries, and my damn Thursdays back. It was a Thursday when I returned to that cafe. Not for him, not for drama, just for me. I ordered my coffee, sat at a small table by the window, and watched the world move on. Same cinnamon in the air, same barista, same soft clink of cups. But everything felt different, lighter, stronger. I stirred in a little cream, took a slow sip, and let it settle. I wasn't waiting for anyone. No fake smiles. No second guessing. Just me. Whole. Steady. Free. I thought about all the Thursdays he used to steal from me. Sneaking away, pretending, lying through his teeth while I planned our future. And now Thursdays were mine. My time, my peace, my beginning. I smiled to myself, quiet and certain, as the cafe door chimed for someone else's story to begin. Then I whispered it, soft enough for only me to hear. He chose Thursdays to cheat. I chose one to end him.